3,200 years ago, if you lived on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, you would have considered your world eternal and absolutely indestructible. Egyptian pharaohs, powerful Hittite kings, and the rulers of Babylon engaged in exquisite diplomatic correspondence. In these messages, they respectfully called each other brothers and sent heavy caravans of gold as a sign of eternal friendship. It was the era of the first true globalization, where the prosperity of the greatest empires depended critically on a fragile web of international trade routes. Precious tin was brought by caravans from the harsh mountains of distant Afghanistan, and copper was mined on an industrial scale in Cyprus, so that sacred bronze, the foundation of weapons in the economy of that time, could be born in giant smelting furnaces. Thousands of scribes sat in palaces keeping endless registers, maniacally accounting for every sheep, every measure of grain, and every war chariot. None of these mighty, ponderous powers even suspected that they had only a few decades left to exist. And then, as if by the snap of an invisible executioner's fingers, the greatest civilizations on Earth were wiped into bloody dust. The impregnable palaces of Mycenae burned to the ground. The colossal Hittite capital of Hattusa was abandoned forever, and trade routes became overgrown with weeds. Humanity suddenly forgot writing, lost the ability to build monumental structures, and plunged into a darkness that would last for almost 400 years. For a long time, historians could not understand what could have caused a systemic collapse of such monstrous scale. The key to the mystery was found in panicked clay letters discovered in the ashes of the ancient Syrian city of Ugarit. In one of the last messages, the doomed king of Ugarit begged his allies for help. "My father, the enemy ships are already here. They have burned my cities and do unspeakable evil in my land. No one can stop them." But help never came, and Egyptian chronicles preserved for us only the chilling name of this threat: the Sea Peoples. Who were they? Fierce pirates? Climate refugees fleeing famine? Or an alliance of tribes united by a thirst for total plunder? Egyptian bas reliefs terrify with depictions of them as wild warriors in horned helmets, with round shields and long straight swords, knowing no mercy. They had no great capital, no stone palaces, and no developed bureaucracy. But they had what the bloated, fading empires lacked catastrophically: absolute desperation and primal mobility. They moved not as armies, but as entire nations, together with their families, on creaking wagons with heavy wooden wheels. The Bronze Age collapsed not only because of their blades. The cumbersome system itself turned out to be too fragile to withstand this blow. To truly grasp the scale of this tragedy, we must understand how high humanity had climbed before its fall. Imagine the Eastern Mediterranean not as disparate ancient kingdoms, but as a single giant megalopolis, connected by the sea. In Mycenae, Greek engineers built cyclopean walls from stone blocks weighing tens of tons, which seemed capable of withstanding a blow from the gods themselves. On the island of Crete, the palace at Knossos was an incredible labyrinth of 1,500 rooms with multi-level ventilation and plumbing, millennia ahead of its time. Egypt, at this time, was at the peak of its power, drowning in gold and erecting colossal monuments that overwhelmed the human psyche. And in the territory of modern Turkey, the Hittite Empire created a military machine capable of fielding thousands of war chariots on a single battlefield. But the true blood of this system was not the army, it was trade. Ships cruised continuously between ports, carrying ivory, precious glass, wine, and purple fabrics. Bronze was the plastic of the ancient world. Without it, everything stopped, from logging and harvesting crops to equipping elite armies. And it was this exact metal that made the empires absolute hostages to each other, because its creation required copper and tin, whose deposits were thousands of kilometers apart. This global supply chain worked like a Swiss watch for hundreds of years. Kings exchanged not only goods, but also the best doctors, architects, and dynastic marriages. It was a golden age of stability, where the absolute illusion reigned that tomorrow would be exactly as luxurious as yesterday. But this incredibly complex system had one fatal flaw. If you tore just one link out of it, the entire ponderous chain would inevitably break. The collapse began not with enemy fleets. The first blows were struck by nature itself, as if deciding to erase human pride. A series of catastrophic seismic storms swept across the entire eastern Mediterranean. The impregnable cyclopean walls of Mycenae, the palaces of Crete, and the temples of Anatolia were covered with deep cracks. Cities crumbled, burying thousands of people under the rubble. But even this was not the end. Ancient builders knew how to rebuild ruins. The real horror came from the sky. The rains simply stopped. A great drought set in, lasting not a year or two, but decades. The earth cracked open, and once flowing rivers turned into muddy trickles. The grain silos of the great empires, designed for huge armies and bureaucratic apparatuses, emptied rapidly. For the first time in centuries, powerful kings could not feed their people. Famine birthed rebellions. Desperate peasants abandoned scorched fields and took up pitchforks. The internal structure of the states began to rot and disintegrate from within. Trade routes, the very circulatory system of the Bronze Age, were paralyzed. Ships refused to put to sea out of fear of pirates and starving refugees. Copper and tin stopped arriving at the forges. Empires lost the ability to produce new bronze. The military machine, which had kept the world in fear for centuries, found itself stripped of spare parts. Broken swords could not be replaced, and smashed chariots became firewood. And it was at this moment of absolute vulnerability, when the fragile chain of globalization was already bursting at the seams, that they appeared on the horizon. The Sea Peoples did not come to conquer and rule. They were fleeing the same famine and disasters from the north and west. They were locusts who needed only one thing: to consume whatever was left to survive. Their tactics broke all the rules of Bronze Age warfare. The great empires relied on heavy war chariots, the tanks of antiquity. But these supermachines required a flat battlefield and complex logistics. The Sea Peoples fought on foot, in swarms. They attacked from ambushes, in narrow gorges, and in the ruins of cities. Their long, slashing swords easily cleaved the spears of elite guardsmen accustomed to formation combat. The fall was swift and merciless. The invincible Hittite Empire erupted into civil war and was wiped off the map in a matter of years. Their monumental capital turned into a mass grave. The wealthiest trading cities of the Levant caught fire like straw. The king of Ugarit, who sent those panicked letters, never received an answer. The domino effect could no longer be stopped. The system was devouring itself. When the smoke over the Mediterranean coast finally cleared, silence fell. The deafening, frightening silence of a world that had suddenly stopped. Out of hundreds of thriving cities, only a few survived. Along with the empires, memory also died. Palace scribes were killed, and the complex system of Mycenaean writing, known as Linear B, disappeared forever. Humanity literally became mute. The survivors huddled in small tribes and built primitive mud huts right inside the colossal ruins of their ancestors. They looked at the giant stone blocks and believed they were built by mythical cyclopes, because humans are not capable of such things. Egypt, though it managed to repel the attacks of the Sea Peoples, paid a terrifying price for it. The pharaohs exhausted all resources, the treasury emptied, and the great empire retreated into itself, beginning a slow 1,000-year decline. And what about the Sea Peoples themselves? They did not build a new great civilization. Like a forest fire, they burned everything in their path and then dissolved among the ashes. One of their tribes, the Peliset, settled on the coast and later gave this land a new name, Palestine. The Dark Ages lasted 400 years, but it was this exact collapse that turned out to be the most necessary, albeit the most painful step in the evolution of humanity. The lack of copper and tin forced the survivors to look for an alternative, and they found a metal that was previously considered too refractory and difficult. They discovered iron. Iron was worse than bronze. It rusted quickly, but it had one absolute advantage. It was everywhere. It could be mined in any swamp. Humanity no longer needed global trade routes. The transition to iron destroyed the king's monopoly on power. Now every farmer could forge a cheap sword for himself. The chariot elites became a thing of the past. The era of mass infantry armies began. But what about the memory of the Bronze Age collapse? It didn't disappear completely. Hundreds of years later, the blind Greek poet Homer would gather these whispered legends about fallen cities and great battles. He will call this epic the Iliad and the Odyssey. The story of the destruction of Troy is the cultural echo of that very global collapse, turned into a myth about the wrath of the gods and the heroes of the past. Without the collapse of the Bronze Age, ancient Greece and the Roman Empire would never have emerged. The classical world, which gave us philosophy, democracy, and science, literally grew on the giant graveyard of the first globalization. Today, looking at our own system of international banks, complex supply chains of microchips and oil, we feel absolutely safe. But the history of the Sea Peoples is a cold reminder from the depths of millennia. Any global system, no matter how powerful it may seem, holds only as long as all its links work. And as soon as they begin to tear, the darkness will fall much faster than we think.